welcome. It's Tuesday evening, it's 9 o'clock, it's probably raining outside your window and it's raining outside ours too. Very, very welcome to the latest round of your school virtual scholarship series, Formula V scholarship series in association with GamerFest and indeed Bois Motorsport broadcast right here on Gantry TV. My name is Kevin Galvin, joining me as always is my partner by Dalton, and in the background is Ronan, Hederman, keeping things running smooth this evening as we head to what's set to be a very damp evening at the Hockenheim ring circuit. Things are really heating up now in the championship after yet another unpredictable round in Hockenheim last week through the Catamounts Pigeons, and we're down to our final 10 in the scholarship series. We'll get to them in a bit later on in the broadcast, because Evan Dalton will tell us a little bit more about how they got to the final 10 standings. But for the moment, our action focuses this evening in the country of Germany, the Hockenheim ring circuit that we don't get to visit very often. We were in Hockenheim and RTA favourite last week in Croatia. To Central Europe to the Hockenheim ring, we're racing around the national variant of it. So we have 2.29 miles, 2.68 kilometres, 15 turns total, with a race lap record of 119.7 from Daniel Ducadea in the Galara F309. It's an interesting track, a much famed track when it comes to the old Hockenheim ring. You'll remember that famous circuit, but the new one is certainly a very good stand-in, a much more suitable one for modern racing, and this is the National A config as it's known on iRacing. You can see the speed record in iRacing is 145.379, but with that weather forecast, showery conditions, 20 degrees air temperature and a moisture level of 94%, you don't expect that record to be beat. Thanks so much to everyone for joining us in the chat, and hopefully we're set to bring you some really good racing this evening. Evan, as I said earlier, we're down to the final 10 for the scholarship series. They were announced on Bois Motorsport's Instagram channels and social media during the week. So tell us a little bit about the last 10 we have remaining.
Yes, good evening, folks. Thank you, as always, Kevin, and thanks for joining us in the stream chat below. We have 10 drivers remaining in the RTA Virtual Motorsport Formula V Ireland Scholarship. So we've had 6 rounds of racing action, and we've had our interviews take place as well with most of the scholarship drivers. It should be a really good end to the season because we now have less numbers. But of course, that makes it more interesting as the drivers who are knocked out are going to be just racing and going for wins. But nonetheless, more importantly, the 10 drivers who we have remaining, we will run you through in a few moments after we have a little look at our championship standings after round number 6 in Okayama. So all but one in the top 10 without a penalty, actually, and that is Camto Chukwa, but it is still Travis Mawhinney who leads.
Yeah, Travis Mawhinney leading the table at the moment, and then Camto behind them. The two of them, you might notice, are up near the front of the timing tables as well, particularly Camto. Then you've Conor Melia, who's obviously a real-world driver, Dylan McClements, who is ineligible due to his age, and then Brandon McGahan, who has plenty of real-world experience. Then we have another scholarship-eligible driver in Jack Wynn, who brings a huge amount of support with him, as we say every week. Really appreciate that. Then Harvey Dara, or Harvey Darby, as he's known in the Wildfire Racing team. Then Kevin Joyce, another content creator, and then the Dutchman, Jan Zoutwelle, who, it's funny, he's had a funny season, has Jan. He's kind of been really up there or kind of been nowhere at all. So we'll see how he does this evening. He loves a good wet weather track, so tonight's running might suit him. And then Sean McGoldrick down in 10th position. I think that may have been a typo in that. I think Sean might have 119. Jan has 250, sorry, apologies. So it goes 254, 250, and 219. a little bit confused about that. So those are the overall standings. These are the standings for the Scholarship Series after 6 rounds. Travis Mawhinney leads ahead of Campto Chukwa, then Jack Wynn, Kevin Joyce and Jan Zoutvela, then Ken Doyle in the Ling Motorsport machine that you see on the screenshot behind you. Lawrence Asazwa in 7th. He is one of the 10 that have gone through as well. Posted about it online this weekend. Then followed by Diarmuid Toomey, Lee Coogan and Dara Halley. So we have the top 10 standings in the scholarship, but who do we have going forward ultimately to the final 10 of this season?
Well, actually, fairly simply enough, I was just going to say we keep that graphic for a second because we can work off that. Only one who are in the top 10 of the points hasn't made it through, and that unfortunately is Dara Halley, who didn't make the cut. He is being replaced by Sean Smith, who managed to get through. Other than that, the remaining top 9 are all advancing. Their results and cleanliness paying dividends. But of course, as we've said, although it's overall not on your results, the likelihood is if you're picking up good results, you have a very good chance of doing well. Because if you're getting good results, the likelihood is you're being clean. And if you're a good racing driver, you probably can talk the talk as well as walking the walk. So Travis Mawhinney, Campto Chukwa, Jack Wynn, Kevin Joyce, Jan Zoutvela, Ken Doyle, Lawrence Asazwa, Diarmuid Toomey, Lee Cogan and Sean Smith, your top 10. But not in that order in terms of the overall scholarship rankings, but I shall say no more.
Yeah, obviously, I'm aware, Evan, that you were part of that interview committee, so you probably can't comment too much on individual drivers, but as an exercise in terms of trying to understand maybe a little bit more about these drivers and their motivations, how important a part did that interview phase play, and do you think it's a worthwhile thing to have? Because we see a lot of these drivers on track, but it's important to know kind of their commitment to the overall series as well, and how well they would fit in terms of that, being given that opportunity.
I definitely think it was a beneficial thing to do. It was very interesting to see really who wanted this most, and not going to name names, but there was certain drivers who you could really tell based on their interview how much they want this opportunity, compared to others, let's say, who see it as a nice little bonus maybe to their endeavours already. But it was very, very interesting to see some of the answers. There were some tough questions asked. Like, I wouldn't have really I of course helped write the questions, but I wouldn't really have have to answer them myself. There was a lot of tough questions asked, and it was really beneficial to see the method behind the madness almost. So questions on sort of battling, overtaking, all that stuff, what people's approaches are, and really for my own benefit, for the commentary, kind of gave me a little bit of an insight to how the drivers are approaching. Although I haven't said anything about the interviews, if you've listened to what I have said about certain drivers the last few weeks, you can probably put 2 and 2 together. But nonetheless, that is that. What I'm going to find very interesting coming into tonight in terms of the scholarship is last night in practice and tonight in our warm-up, one of the championship contenders, Campto Chukwa, has been in a world of his own in terms of race pace. We know Jan Zoutvela is a good wet weather driver as well. With a third wet race this season, this is another spanner into the works. I think most of the grid were only expecting to have 2.
Yeah, and this is something that obviously we kept close to our chest here as well. And it's I think it's worthwhile because if you are going to be racing in Mondello, we've said this before, you need only look at the weather in the last couple of weeks to know that we are an exceptionally wet country, particularly in the last couple of years. But it's definitely going to be it's definitely going to be something that the drivers will have to face at some point over the season. Rarely enough do you ever have a gloriously, perfectly dry day in Mondello, so it's going to have to be it's going to have to be something you contend with. So very different tracks that we've had wet weather on as well. They're all kind of different and different characteristics wise, so good opportunity to see kind of these guys really, I suppose, show how capable they are of handling these machines on this kind of conditions. And just going back to what you said earlier, Sean McGoldrick topping the timing tables at the moment, just ahead of Campto Chukwa. Jan Zoutvela up there as well, and Travis Mawhinney, of course, who is going up against Campto for the Scholarship Series points battle. But it's important as you say, like for not to name any names, but we know there are some people on this grid that they use sim racing as an opportunity to, I suppose, live out that experience that maybe they couldn't otherwise afford. And sometimes it's not just about like the monetary side of things, but sometimes it's just about the contacts, or sometimes when you come from a racing dynasty, it's a little bit easier to, or more natural to get into that world. It can be a little bit intimidating if you're not from that side, where even to start and how to buy gear and how much you need. I think that could be a big, it's not just the car, like it's everything else that you need to go along with it. Never mind to say a trailer license and a trailer. So, for a lot of these guys, it is a huge opportunity because it's such a big barrier to entry for this sport, unfortunately, and this is something that we always have to combat. And obviously, that opens up the door for sim racing in terms of what we do. But for a lot of these guys, to be given the opportunity, or for that barrier to be at least released some way, is a huge opportunity for them. And I can understand why for some people there's massive motivation going into these last 2 weeks, because this might be the closest they will ever get to racing in a real World Series. So hopefully we'll be able to give this opportunity to some of these guys again, but we obviously just don't know what's coming down the line. You can never be too sure of anything in motorsport, so you have to grab the opportunity while it's there.
Yes, absolutely. And one thing I really like is that in the top 10 we have, and this is pure coincidence, you have sort of three different types of drivers going for it. Say you have the hardcore sim racers trying to get into the sport, the likes of maybe Campto, Ken, Sean Smith. You have those who are trying to progress their racing career. Travis Mawhinney, who raced the minis last season in Mondello. Dermot Toomey, who's a very successful karter, rental karter, and now more in race karts. And then you have sort of the car and sim racing aficionados. You have Lawrence, you have Kevin Joyce, you have Jack. We have all different types of drivers going for the one thing. And I just find that so special that they all have different reasons for wanting to do it, but they all want to do it. And that's why we've got such a special series. And really, sort of the fantasticness, which is a terrible adjective, but I can't think of anything better on the spot, of this scholarship hasn't even occurred yet. When hopefully we can get a big crew out in Mondello on the first day and we see whoever wins that scholarship go down to turn one after nailing the start. What a moment that's going to be for Irish sim racing, and that is hopefully the special we are going to get soon. But more importantly, there's a lot of drivers struggling in this qualifying session. Conor Mealy being one of them. We saw him pirouetting in front of the Mercedes grandstand, but Camto is on top. Jack wins second.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Travis Mawhinney now just gone to third. So all of the scholarship drivers leading at the moment. Now I suspect, I was going to say Dylan McClements will have something to say about that. And Sean McClements is down in a lowly ninth. As you say, Conor Mealy is struggling at the moment. Jordan Kelly down in 15th. We're still not sure what equipment he's on this evening. I'm sure Jordan will let us know. Yeah, well, there you go. It's going to be very, very hard to try and be competitive in the wet, particularly. But
this will tell all.
Yeah, yeah, probably a controller. Let's be honest. It's swaying a little bit. Although I don't know. It's hard to know. But coming back to, and look, again, I can say this because I wasn't part of the interviewing committee. But there's one driver in particular that I think it's particularly nice that he's been given this opportunity, is Lawrence de Soswa, because Lawrence, as we know, has done so much to help other racers. You look at the likes of Kalis Cole, and I know even last weekend they had a big event up in Watergrass Hill to try and help her get racing, and the Potato Nation have sponsored different drivers along the way. And Lawrence is one of those guys that, sometimes you see people arrive on the scene and they arrive and they're trying to get something out of it, and if they can't get something out of it, they're kind of gone again pretty quickly. But Lawrence is one of those guys that really reinvests in people. And as I said, I did a big thing about the Potato Nation and about how it's about the community. And I feel like Lawrence, that's the big thing he gets, is that it's not just about the cars or the racing, it's about the people behind it. And he's done so much to try and help others get into racing. Personally, and this is only a very, very personal opinion, Um, Due to that, it would be great to see Lawrence given that in return and given the opportunity. But of course, like he has to earn it. So we'll have to see how he gets on here. He's down. I can't see him on the board actually, as Lawrence is at 14th at the
14th.
moment. So he's a bit back. He has a bit of work to do, but in this rain, and if it ramps up, Evan, you might be starting 14th or 15th at the start of race one, but you could very well find yourself in reverse grid pole by the time you get to race three.
Yeah, very much so. It's been kind of topsy turvy a little bit. We had our experienced RTA veterans at the top of the previous two wet races in the previous 2 weeks as well, previous 3 weeks, dare I say. But look at it now. It's our free scholarship front runners in the points prizes. Campto Chukwa first, Jack Wynne second, Travis Mowini in third, Harvey Dara in fourth as well, then followed by Sean McClements, and Travis Mowini's just had a massive tank slapper heading for the double right-hander before or halfway down what is usually the longest straight on this Hockenheim ring. Very interesting gaggle of cars going along here. Not many getting a clean lap in, but Camto Chukwa is still top of the order with a 54 flat. And then look at that, Jack Wynne, Travis Mowini, Harvey Dara, all 54 fours. Sean McClemmon, Jan Zoutavella, Dylan McClemmon, Sean McGoldrick, all 54 fives. So top eight separated by 5/10, but second to eight separated by just over a tenth.
Yeah, and it's crazy when you consider the wet weather as well. They do call it the great equalizer. I know Emerald Car Shots on the chat came in with that as well. So it just goes to show you it really is the great equalizer. And you can see the rain continuing to pour now. The track seems to be staying at a fairly stable level in terms of wetness. It doesn't seem to be amping up. Like there's no huge puddles being formed, I see, but you can just see there that's on board with Jack Wynne. Like the car is getting a little bit more unpredictable, and certainly they're trying to fight for grip through those sections. And I wonder, will people start to explore alternative lines? But it still looks like the track is dry enough that the racing line does seem to be the best at the moment. That's a superb Wii Sports livery, by the way, by Jan Zoutfella. Big fan of that.
Yeah, I like that. I know he's had a Wii Sports livery on all season, but is that a new one? I think it could be a new one in all
Yeah,
honesty.
it looks a bit
Looks
different. Yeah,
different.
yeah.
Much better than the livery with me on the side, dressed as Ayrton Senna. Anyways, I can safely say that. So good to see the creative liveries. I have to say, I do quite
Some
like.
would
We haven't really,
disagree. Most would not.
we haven't really had a discussion about liveries this season because we've kind of had so much other stuff going on. But we usually have a proper nerd out over it. I quite like Campto's as well, the bullet bill. In all honesty, it's simple but effective. But yeah, a nice plethora of liveries. But I'm looking forward to seeing when we go back to the tin tops, because usually tin tops, and next season in RTA, folks, will be the Porsche Cup. Usually tin tops provide just total madness when it comes to the paint schemes. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, I have to say, at the risk of being quoted out of context, Harvey Darby's Fife's Banana is a big fan. I was a big favorite of mine. Do love, or is it a Chiquita banana? Actually, I think it's a Chiquita
No, I think it's a
banana.
five. Is
Is
it
it
not
a
a five?
five?
I thought it was a fives.
I think it's a. Can we get a top down? Can have a look at that? What the One of the things I particularly love about the livery is the attention to detail of having that little bit of the green for the stalk at the back of it. Big fan of
Oh,
that.
very
Yeah,
cool.
I really like that. There was a bit of thought put into that livery, which I really like. We
Oh, it has a little bit
have.
of brown on the front as well.
It says Dirty Air, so it's not a Chiquita or. I don't recognize that banana brand, but I'm sure they're
That's ruined the
probably.
immersion.
Uh, yeah, very good. So yeah, that's Harvey. He's actually up into second place at the moment, and he's splitting now Camto Chukwa and Jan
Oh, very
Zoutfella.
good.
So a very good time to go alongside him.
Very good, Kevin Galvin.
And Tony Griffin in fourth position.
Yeah, great was still there for Tony. And that may be all she wrote for most of these guys because they've crossed the start finish line. Conor Mealy, that is a diabolical qualifying session. He's down in 13th behind Dermot Toomey and just in front of Lee Cogan. But it's looking like it is Campto's day, and he will take pole ahead of Harvey Dara in second, who actually put in a monster of a lap, a 54.2, while we were discussing the banana brand. And why have I never noticed that is in the middle of the track before? What's that?
You have not raced this track enough to not notice the enormous
I
oil
haven't. I've never
canister.
raced it on iRacing.
Yeah, no. It's the first thing you notice. You're like, what the hell is that big yellow? And then you're like, oh, I see. Yeah, Connor unfortunately shaken and stirred, I think, over the course of this qualifying because he's spent more time backwards than he has forwards. But Kamto Chukwe certainly put his best foot forward while qualifying and pole position.
Yeah, Captain Juggler, always for all of the season, and Jarrett, he's only fourth, Jack 50. Hold on, Thompson will be doing the Captain Sean Clemens, John Clemens, Sean Malone, LT Davidson, Jordan Kelly, Ed Doyle, Ross Lee, and Garrett O'Connor, Gerald Thornton, position, of our Sean Smith, David Jones, no time, had a hat-trick so far this season with the pace advantage Camto has. I wonder, is it on the cards?
Yeah, we shall see. It looks pretty dry there at the moment as well. So it looks like we might have a dry race for the opening race. It should be very. Oh no, there's the rain. I was just going to say that would be exceptionally interesting if the guys were still on wet tires.
Yes, but we will find out what happens nonetheless. As now, let's let battle commence here in Hockenheim. Great start, Jan Soutavella. Very disappointing start for Harvey Dara in the banana car. He has missed a gear by the looks of things and is already falling down the pack. Kamto Chukwe leads us through the right-hander at turn number 1 for the opening race of the evening. 10 minutes for this first heat and then 15 and 20 for the two to follow. Sean McClements has got past his brother Dylan in towards the first heavy braking zone. Is there anyone going to lunge a move down the inside? Yes, there is from the older of the two McClements brothers. He's down the inside there on Peter McCann, and that is job done. These two, last time we came to Hockenheim, had a crash in the third heat when fighting for the podium. They don't want to repeat.
No, absolutely not, especially not at these opening stages of this race. And like we talked about the scholarship guys being down to the last 10, like this really now, the last two races here this season, this evening, and I'm trying to remember where we're going next week.
Sebring.
My Sebring, that's right, sorry, the short Sebring circuit. Those are going to be right down to the wire. Like these are the opportunities now that these guys are being put in the spotlight. They really have to show now that they're capable of performing when the pressure's on and handling that pressure. So it's going to be a massive evening for those guys. And Jan Zoutvela, as we said, he was the wet weather specialist. He's gotten it done early, but I'm sure Kamto will keep him very earnest as we head towards the second part of this opening lap.
Yeah, close race to home for this one for Jan Zoutavella, so we will be looking to try and put on a show. Sean McClements and Jack Wynn, little bit of rubbing, and Jack Wynn just going over the curb and always had a little bit of a wobble in towards the long sweeping hairpin. Sean McClements taking avoiding action. All in all, the number 419 is now ahead, and Jack Wynn is in 5th place. Had a great race last week in heat number 3, got 4th, one of his best performances of the season.
Peter McCann gone.
And that is Peter, who's gone off at the final corner.
Peter very generously allowing the scholarship boys to commence their own battle and just yeets himself off into the final corner. But yeah, look, we're on board with Sean McClements here. Sean and Dylan and Connor and all these people have a little bit of an interesting situation, especially Sean here, who has a gaggle of scholarship cars in front of him. Because like, if you're Sean, obviously he's in the fortunate position where his parents, who work exceptionally hard, and himself, of course, are able to put him in a seat. Whereas he's in a position now where he's looking at a lot of guys who don't necessarily have that opportunity. So he's going to have to be very careful, because the last thing you do is you want to cause something that might take that opportunity away from somewhere. But that's not going to stop Sean from diving down the inside on Jack Wynn. And he gets that move done through the parabolica. That is a great move from the 47 car. He's up into 5th position.
You thought more about Sean McClements' approach to this race, more than Sean McClements has ever thought about anything in his life, to be brutally honest. He's just going to go for the move here. I don't think he cares who's in front of him. He's just going to go for the win so he could have another one of his infamous post-race interviews. But Tony Griffin, what a performance this is so far. They say that rain brings out some performances, and Tony Griffin is putting on a show here in the number 7. He's up to 2nd position, never stood on an RTA podium, could well be here. Oh, he's had a slide off the curve that got very close, and it was almost a commentator's curse. And he ate it, and Thomas Mawini's off. He's vettled it in towards the final corner, but not crucially into the wall. He will be able to get re-going behind Ken Doyle, but that's a big mistake from the championship leader.
Yeah, big mistake. It almost collected. I think that's where is he? Ken Doyle. I think it's almost he collected there as he rejoined the track. Ken's having big issues himself, but yeah, that section certainly catching guys out. Your car is already a lot of aero going on, and you're already a little bit imbalanced on the back, and then you're asking the car to slow down on top of it. So it's quite easy for for the rear end to swap places with the front there as Lawrence works his way into ninth position. We talked about Lawrence steadily increasing his way forward. Um, Emerald said you could say that Harvey Dara has had a rotten start. Very good, excellent. And he's down into 10th position at the moment, but he's battling there with Lawrence DeSaz with the two of those boys going at it. And we're kind of starting to see a little bit of a split here where you have that front group kind of almost as far as Sean McGoldrick, and then that gap between Sean and Lawrence de Soswa, and then himself all the way down to kind of pretty much Kevin Joyce in 14th place. So it's almost like a split of kind of an 8-6 at the moment. You can see how close these guys are running, but they're doing a really good job of, as Conor Melia and Sean McClements make contact with each other. Conor's going to try and make the move down the inside here. He can't quite make it stick, and Sean's going to have the inside for the next corner, so should be able to battle him off. But these are two guys that are very used to racing with each other, spend an awful lot of time racing with each other in RTA at least. And we seem to have a sort of a train forming now, and with 5 minutes left, like Jean, Tony, Campto and Jack Wynn, as Jean gets very, very snaky on the outside there of that section, and he's gone slightly wide into this corner as well, which is going to lose some time. But yeah, it's there. I suppose it's kind of protecting what they have, because they're all in the top four, and neither of them will want to risk it for a very, very, very small chocolate biscuit.
Great race this so far from Conor Melia. I was critical of him after qualifying, and as would he have been, it was disappointing. But he's up 6 places here to 7th, and he's well within the fight for the race lead. So good performance this from the experienced wet weather racer. Took his first ever Formula V win, first and only Formula V win in the wet conditions in Kirkstone. And Sean McClements was actually on pole that day, so the two of these know how to drive in these conditions. They both live on this island, so it makes sense really. It's rained every day so far in 2026, but that's a separate complaint, not for Gantry TV. A little bit of a wobble for Dylan, who is in 4th here, and yet to win a race in this RTA season. Last time that he had one of these sort of big winless droughts was back in the LMP2 Championship, where he took his first win in the penultimate race of the season, not penultimate round. That was in the round number 8, heat number 2. Can he end the drought a little bit early here? We're 2 by 2 by 2. Dylan gets past Campto, Jack gets past Sean. Tony Griffin almost took the race lead from Jean Zoutevella, but he ran very wide here, and this bunch of cars is starting to get closer and closer as the laps tick by.
Yeah, they're starting to weave around left and right as well, which almost inevitably means contact at some point when somebody gets it wrong. So let's see what happens here. Jack Wynn all over the back of Campto Chukwa, and he's being followed closely by Sean McClements. Now we can see on board with Sean McClements here. He tries to go around the outside. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to make this stick, because this corner is very, very slippery once you go onto that curb on the outside. Let's have a look at Sean McClements. He's right in the curb. He's managed to do that well. He's stuck in the nose here, and he's going to have a go down the inside of Jack Wynn. Wynn now holds it round the outside. Is that a small bit of contact? And that's going to invite the door now for Conor Melia, who goes round the outside. He can't quite make that move. Can he, Melia? Yes, no, maybe so. No, Melia is going to get that job done. Great job by Conor Melia. That's another position for him, up 7 places. Dylan McClements also up 7 places. He is in 2nd place and ahead of the man we're on board with there. You can see the red and black Team DDR livery, and quite a gap now between himself and Jan Zoutevella at the front of the field.
Yeah, Jan Zoutevella running well. Meatball flag for Ross Wheatley. He'll make his way down the pit lane, and unfortunately it'll be the end of the race for him. Dermot Toomey loses a spot, but McClements and Melia are side by side again, and Ken Doyle, I think, has had a bit of an off, and sorry, no, Dermot Toomey, actually, that was in the background, who had a spin. Conor Melia gets the job done once again around the outside of Sean McClements, but Sean will have the better run, taking that neater inside line. Sean McGoldrick is a keen spectator to this one, heading down the longest straight here before the double apex right-hander, which is a very tricky corner to nail your braking for, as is every sort of double apexed corner, because you never know whether to take the inside line, the swooping line, and Sean McClements is out of control! He's out of control, but saves it. Conor Melia takes avoiding action, and that's worked out for the benefit of the two of them. They've dropped off the train, but crucially still in the race.
Yeah, that's good driving from everyone around Sean there, because Sean just would completely Tokyo drift through that corner. Did well to save it, but superb driving from those around him to avoid him who was coming across track there. I don't want to know what that's poking out the back of Conor Amelia's car, but I'm sure it's something that's very important for the machine, but I won't say anything more than that. Sean McClements still in the battle, though, despite that. Hasn't taken much tread off those weathers quite clearly through that slide, so still has plenty of grip here as he tries to get this move around the outside. And this corner slightly reminds me, it's a sock score if it's called, if you wanted to know. It reminds me slightly of turn number 3, I'm going to say, at Zandvoort in Holland, where you can kind of take a high line, but you can also kind of take a low line as well, because the camber is so great. So it does invite different lines through that corner, which I have to say I quite like.
Yeah, I love that corner. Just driving it always feels really nice. Feels like it's a great corner to go around the outside of as well. But we're on the last lap here in Hockenheim of heat number 1. And Dylan McClements is looking to finally become the bride, not the bridesmaid. But Tony Griffin is looking to stand on the altar for the first ever time here in RTA Virtual Motorsport. Very late braking from Jan Zoutevella. Tony just that little bit nervous maybe. Hasn't been in these situations too much in his career. Camto and Jack both fighting for crucial scholarship points as well. But Dylan McClements is tucked into the slipstream of the Dutchman in front, in towards this double apex right-hander where his brother almost had an off of all offs and take out championship contender Conor Amelia. Here we come then in towards the braking zone. Tony Griffin is on that inside line, and Tony Griffin is lunging one down the inside, and it's gone oh so close at the apex. And Tony Griffin, that is just about enough space for him to put his Formula V nose into. No contact made. Excellent driving from all three. It's given Dylan McClements a little bit of an advantage he needs, and Jack Wynn is looking to push himself onto the podium places here and make amends for just missing out in Okayama. Is there anything else in Jan Zoutevella's locker to try and get ahead of Dylan McClements once again here and deny the young Antrim man once again? 10 minutes on the clock. This will be the final time for the stadium section, and Dylan McClements looks good unless there's a miracle lunge from Jean here, who's still fighting for that Formula V place. He's looking for the inside. He is a lot later on the brakes, but it's looking good for Dylan McClements for the final couple of corners.
Yeah, Zoutevella has bowling on the side of his car, but we hope he won't be doing a Valtteri Bottas turn 1 of Hungary in the final stages here. The 35 machine lost some ground at Dylan McClements, and speaking of bridesmaids, it seems like the 88 will finally have a race victory.
Yes, here he comes for the final corner. The drought will end in round 7, heat number 1. And Dylan McClements takes his first race win of the season. Jan Zoutevella in second, and Jack Wynn will stand on the RTA podium. What a massive result that is for him. He's got driver of the day before, but never stood on the rostrum. And that is an excellent result for one of our scholarship racers. Tony just missing out in fourth, but the pace is there, and we have 2 more races tonight.
Yeah, Tony, the victim of his own ambition, went in deep there in that corner, and Jan Zoutevella, as you saw, and then completely scrubbed off the speed for the corner exit middle of the way through the lap. And Jack Wynn doing a superb job of just capitalizing on that, staying safe and managing to get himself into third place. So a very, very well-earned podium position for the 419 car.
Yeah, I do appreciate the miracle lunge from Tony Griffin as well. That's the bit of racing that I like to see. Dylan McClements takes the race win finally. Chance Zoutevella comes home in second. That's Jack Wynn in third, Tony Griffin fourth, Camto Chukwa in fifth position, Sean McClements in sixth, Peter McCann in seventh, Sean Dalton, Conor Amelia, Travis Mawhinney, Lawrence the Salzway, Lee Melvin, Kevin Joyce, Darren, Ed Doyle, Jordan Kelly, Dermot Tooley, Sean Smith, and Middleton. Below those few things, but from Ross leaving, unfortunately,
yeah, down at the bottom of the flag at all. Second Europe Motorsport car, but she is in session, and these are getting ready to go again. And Dylan on top.
Dylan McClements on the left-hand side of a slightly wetter grid, and David Prunty has jumped the start, so he will be in to serve a drive-through, but off and away on the front runners. Camto Chukwa is already ahead of Tony Griffin, so a clear mist potentially for Tony, and he's now free wide in towards the first corner. It is Dylan McClements leading Jans out to Vela, and then there's a little bit of a bridge in the river as Jack Wynn is down in third, but they all come piling down towards the second corner, and there's not going to be any drastic lunges by the looks of things. Long race, 15 minutes here in this one.
Yeah, so you have to bide your time, and we'll have to see how the track works its way out as well, whether it will get worse or not. Now, we saw in a 15-minute qualifying session, didn't seem to have a huge impact, but nonetheless, it could be a factor that plays if the weather gets worse from here. Just noticing the 54 car of David Prunty has a black flag, as well as Jan Zoutfella goes into the lead here, going into the Parabolica, so he's wasted no time, has the Dutchman, to try and get ahead in what would technically be not his home race, but certainly the race in the calendar that will be closest to his home place. I think that might be fair to say. Although you might say Brands Hatch is probably closer to... Anyway, but that's a conversation for another day. Yeah, Travis Mawhinney back into P10 now. He had an awful spin in the opening race, and that kind of knocked him out of position. And Travis, of course, you know, up amongst the leaders. I think he's leading the championship coming into this evening. So so he'll be hoping to make up some ground, because the races are running out rapidly, as we say. So just 5 heats to go until we find out, ladies and gentlemen, who will get the seat or seats for the upcoming Formula V season. But Jan Zoutevella, Evan, certainly, and this man here, Jack Wynn in the 419 car, on track at least, certainly putting their hands up.
Yeah, doing an excellent job. And Jan Zoutevella is making a little bit of a late lunge at the championship here, potentially. But we're 2 minutes into the 15 of this one. Still plenty of time to go. So Dylan McClements, not too rushed, and in very Tour de France-esque style. Just lets Jan become the leader of this group. Sean has ran a little bit wide there, and he's bobbled over the curb for a puddle. Just keeps control of his Formula V down towards the right-hander. It's all fairly single file here. This is... oh, no, never mind. There's Tony Griffin. Oh, my God, that's a lunge. And that's not just almost wiped out Jack Wynn. Jack, I tell you what, that is the reaction times of a cat getting his foot stepped on.
Well, that is a lunge from a man who certainly isn't being... Is Tony being selected in the last day?
No, he isn't.
That is the lunge of a man who has massively missed his braking zone.
Jack, take a bow.
Yeah, it's super stuff from Jack. Poor Tony Griffin, I feel bad for him, because I think he just completely missed his braking marker. He just got blinded by the car in front of him, and... oh, there's Jan! Jan going round! Jan getting spun, going into the back of Dylan McClements, and now he's caused a car park, which includes Jack Wynn, and also, they're all glued together. That's Peter McCann caught up in that as well. Jan Zoutevella going into the back of Dylan McClements, and through that, both Peter McCann and Jan Zoutevella now have meatball flags. That is a massive impact on the Dutchman's evening. Let's have a look at what happened here.
Let's see. Dylan McClements, that is in the race lead. Jan in second. Has he gone? Surely he's not gone for a move here. I would say he's just carried too much speed.
Yeah. That's exactly what happened.
Cut.
No, I think... there's Peter McCann arriving, and there's the front
and then Jack.
And then somebody else arrives. Wait for it. Oh, somebody's spanning sympathy. And they all managed to untangle themselves. I feel, poor Jack Wynn. He's been really through the wars.
Literally 20 or so seconds ago, he dodged the oncoming bicycle and then got hit by the tram a couple of seconds later. Like, that's... awful bad luck.
Jack playing a crossover between Formula V's and Frogger at the moment, for those of you who remember your old PlayStation games. If you don't get that joke, ask your parents. There's Conor Melia going into the back of Travis Mawhinney, so this corner is causing all kinds of hassle. This Einfahrt Parabolica, as it's known.
Oh, I knew the German would come at some point.
I have to come out at some point. Just be thankful we're not in Le Mans. It could be so much worse. But yeah, don't even go there. It's just carry too much speed and a bit of a bounce in the back. And look at this from Lawrence. He's going to try and stick the move that Tony Griffin couldn't. Can he get it done on Sean McGoldrick? It looks like McGoldrick's going to have it, and it looks like Lawrence de Soswa is going to get Jack Wind by Harvey Dara.
Yes. I don't know how Lawrence has fallen down 3 spots there from that one, but he has. And it is Dylan in the race lead ahead of Campto, Sean, and then we're back to this train. Other Sean, Travis, Harvey Dara, LD, Conor Melia, Lee Cogan, Dermot Toomey. So this race has changed, and Campto Chuckwell, what a position he's in for a major points haul here tonight. Travis had a show. Sean McClements holds on to it well. Little bit of a kick out of the rear, showboating into the arena.
Yeah, and like, you know, it might look easy, this stuff, because there's so many guys here that are so good at what they do. But if you're looking at it and you're thinking, how do we have so much carnage? I would say, oh, there's Lawrence. Lawrence has got full lock to save himself from spinning round, and that's opened the door for Conor Melia to come through. So Conor Melia goes into 7th position. That is the 2nd position he's made all over the course of the race. But yeah, try and load up an AI race with these same conditions at the Hockenheim in the same car, and I think you'll find just how difficult it is to be battling, to be trying to make space, to be reacting to others, but at the same time also trying to just keep your car pointed in the right direction. Harvey Dara, speaking about places made, the 6th position, Dirty Air Banana, number 8. Definitely the first time that's ever been said in a motorsport commentary. He's up 8 places, so up 8 places to 6th, so up 8 for the number 8.
Yeah, good race for this Harvey Dara, although he's had a lot of cars fall down the order to assist him. Also, we have lost Peter McCann, Jan Zoutvella, Ken Doyle, Sean Smith, Dara O'Connor, Tony Griffin, all still running bar Tony, but way off the pack, unfortunately. But you are well worth your while keeping going, because just staying going could easily be 2 positions to promote your starting place in the next race, which of course the top 8 are reversed for, but the rest is the same starting format as we've had for the previous 2 starts. So Dylan McClements, Campto Chuckwell, Sean McClements, and then this man, Travis Mawhinney, who has recovered pretty decently and is ahead of Sean McGoldrick and Harvey Dara. Very disappointing for Jack Wynne in the early phases, but he is still in 13th, so there is something in this one. He's kept relatively damage free, which is very important for a race like this.
Yeah, and at the risk of, as there's a move now being sent down the inside by Dermot Toomey, trying to get ahead of Lee Coogan, but he can't get that one done. It's, you know, at the risk of, again, the commentator's curse, but like, I could very easily see Jack Wynne finishing in 8th position and starting on the front row of the grid
100%.
and really doing a great job of doing that as well, because he's obviously very quick in these cars and very well able to control himself in racing these as well. But you know, it's one of those instances, like you see it happen in real time all the time. As I said, Valtteri Bottas, one of the best F1 drivers, or certainly definitely one of the best F1 wingmen we've seen in the modern era of Formula One racing, and he got it all kinds of wrong and locked up and ended up going into, you know, creating that bowling ball effect. So it can happen, especially in these conditions. If you lose your braking marker, it's very, very hard to get yourself slowed down, because the minute you turn off to try and avoid contact, of course, you put yourself in that more slippery line as well. So look, as I said about Tony Griffin, it was just one of those things that he missed. He just missed the braking marker. It wasn't that he was trying to send it, he just got blinded by the car in front of him. You can see those rooster tails behind you as well, they have an impact too, and you get blinded, you miss your braking marker by 50 metres, and all of a sudden, there's an accident. That's contact between Conor Melia and Sean McGoldrick. These are 2 veterans of RTA getting it all kinds of wrong. So it's not just our scholarship contenders, but it's the older guys are struggling as well. And we saw Conor, he was struggling in qualifying, seemed to get it together a little bit, but we'll have to have a look at that again to see whether whether that was entirely of Conor's making. Let's have a look at the Gantry TV replay. Thanks to, of course, Gamerfest. Sorry, I was going to say thanks to Gamerfest and Boa Motorsports as well for their continued ongoing help, and Mondello Park, of course, as you can see in front of you. Yeah, iRacing physics there, I think, Evan. A little touch of the tyres, but certainly I don't think we would see that happening in Mondello Park this summer, or at least hopefully not.
It's on Conor, but I don't actually know how it's Conor and Sean who have collided there, not the other 2 who were very close to each other, but it's about as efficient a wipeout as you're ever going to get, really. Conor, I think, will hold his hands up to that one, as has Tony Griffin already for that lap 2 moment. He I can't use the words he has described it as, but he said that he made a mess of it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and like, again,
fair enough.
Yeah, it's cancelled. That's much worse from Jordan. Sorry, no, but like, that is poor from Jordan Kelly there. I'm surprised by Jordan there. that is a hip and shoulder straight out of Junior D Donegal football. That is not great from Jordan.
Can we have a replay?
Yeah, let's have a look at that again. A lot of carnage in this race, and unfortunate because we've had a lot of really clean running this year. In
Jordan's
this
also
season.
on a controller, just for context. For the
Yeah,
audience.
but I know.
Not that that's an
Jordan,
excuse, but I didn't actually
so
see it, so let's have a look here.
Amelia pulls out. There's somebody driving slowly, I think, and then Jordan. Ah, gee, Jordan. That is.
That's not the British Formula Ford's Champions Finals moment.
Definitely not the British Formula Ford's Champions Finals moment, I think it's fair to say. But I don't think that Jordan was using a controller when driving that British Formula Ford, although that would be something I would pay to see. So, yeah, not a great one from Jordan. Hands held up for that one. Who did he collect? Was it? Trying to see who it was he collected. Lee Cogan in it, yeah. So unfortunately, the Aries out of sport number 27 is the one who loses out there. Conor Mealy
Well, he's
struggling
out of
big
this
time here,
sport,
lads.
anyways.
Yeah,
After that takeout.
would be making a trip to Aries. But yeah, Connor down in 9th position. He was flying there for a while, Connor, but he's dropped a few places. And Kevin Joyce in the Crayola sponsored car is up 5 places. Diarmuid Toomey up 10 places. Harvey Dara up 10 places. And Dylan McClements into the lead.
Dylan had a 1.6 second lead. He's lost 9/10 on the last lap. Camto put in a fastest lap of a 53.1. And Dylan did a 54.0. Now, Camto was catching throughout that little messy phase at about a 10th of a second a lap, but Dylan has, I would say, made a mistake somewhere. Sean, his brother, did a 53.4, as you can see on your screen now, so we have a battle for the lead here, and Camto has caught Dylan at an absolute rate of knots and is now going for the race lead here. Feels he has the pace down the inside. As Camto Chukwa gets it done. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. Clips Dylan McClemens. Dylan hops and skips into the air briefly, and he's able to keep going. But that is another dramatic moment here at the Hockenheim ring.
Yeah, they're certainly delivering plenty of drama this evening. More incidents this evening than we've probably had for the last 3 weeks combined. But not sure whether it was probably a racing incident there. Like, hard to see whether it was Camto came wide or whether it was Dylan just gave him the bit of a squeeze. I was going to say that Camto had not just one, but 2 McClements to contend with. Now, thankfully, at least, all 3 of them have stayed in the running. Mind you, Sean and Camto now are going to be battling for this lead, but just a pity for Dylan McClements to lose out in that one. And that's Sean McGoldrick going off in the background, and he has given a vote of sympathy to Kevin Joyce, who did the exact same thing. So very unusual to see the likes of Sean McGoldrick and Dylan McClements and Conor Mealy caught up in instance this evening, and Jordan Kelly included. But it just goes to show you how difficult things can get when the rain starts to fly as the white flag comes out for our final lap.
Yes, Sean McClements in the race lead in the last lap, something I don't think he imagined about 5 or 10 minutes ago, but this has almost been an episode of total wipeout by the looks of things. We've just had cars off everywhere. We haven't really had many messy races this season, but when it rains like this, it's this annoying rain where you're still trying to push as much as you can rather than be conservative. And look, mistakes just happen. It's automotive racing. That's why we love it, because you don't know what's going to happen. You could have a squeaky clean race one week, and then you could just have drivers going off left, right, and centre. But it's all a part of racing. As Sean McClements leads by 0.6 of a second. I don't think Camto is going to have enough to catch him. Travis Mooney, crucially, is down the inside of Harvey Dara here, and this is more points for Travis. LD will be looking to capitalise on this. He's currently on course for one of his better results this season. Has had a bit of an up and down season as Lawrence, but it's all coming together seemingly in the Hockenheim ring, and Travis Mooney looks to have that one done. Jack Wynn now, crucially, is up to 8th position. Just as you said, Kevin, currently on the reverse pole.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, just before we got to the crossing the line, that Jack Wynn had 8th in his sight, and just as I say that, he manages to get the move done. And Travis Mawhinney will be exceptionally happy with himself. He's battled back to 4th. He had 4th and was being put under pressure, serious pressure by Harvey Dara. But to be spinning off in the first race and to find yourself 4th in the second race is a superb result. And I think for the likes of Campto, Travis, Lawrence, Jack Wynn, Dermot Toomey, given the amount of carnage there's been this evening, this is a great result for them.
Yes, as Captain Chuckwood did actually have a very good run on Sean McClemens in the dying embers, but it is going to be the 47 across the line to take the race win by less than a tenth of a second. Dylan McClemens will still come home in third. Travis Mawhinney is just about going to get fourth ahead of Harvey Dara. And crucially, Jack Wynn has survived a late onslaught from a wounded Conor Mealy and Jordan Kelly to take a very important reverse grid pole, his first ever in RTA.
Yeah, super stuff from Jack Wynn. Great opening race as well for him to get a podium, and a superb recovery drive after that incident early on involved with Tony Griffin. So super work from him. Great work as well from Campto, Chris McCann in the chat as well. Thanks to everyone in the chat for all your comments as well. We are keeping an eye on them. I have them open in front of me as we go along, so do keep them coming. As unfortunately, Sean Smith, the last man who snuck into the top 10 of the scholarship standings, is just going to be breezed past by Tara O'Connor. It's that cutaway, by the way, Ronan Hederman. Superb work for that. Just to move the camera slightly, just to see Tara O'Connor swing on through in the 73 to take 20th position. But neither of these guys will be particularly happy with that result. But yeah, for Campto, Travis, Lawrence, Dermot, Jack, great opportunity now for them to get some serious points in this final race.
Really, really good opportunity. We're very much seeing the ones selected for the top 10 in the scholarship to prove their worth almost tonight. Lawrence and Dermot, two standouts there who will be picking up big points. But yeah, there's going to be a bit of discussion for the stewards as well, potentially, and a couple of implications on that front. But the stewards making the correct decision will almost make it an even more interesting championship. But let's run you through your results for this one then. And it is Sean McClemens who takes another race win. And in a season that he's not really pushing for the championship, it's one of his statistical best ever in RTA. Campto Chukwa in second, Dylan McClemens in third, Travis Mawhinney in fourth, and it is Harvey Dara, Lawrence de Sousa, Dermot Toomey, Jack Wynn, Conor Mealy, Jordan Kelly, Kevin Joyce, Sean McGoldrick, Andy Middleton, Lee Cogan, Ross Wheatley, Jared Thornton, Jean Outdevelop, Peter McCann, Ken Doyle, and Dara O'Connor rounds us out in 20th position. Then in 21st, Sean Smith, Tony Griffin, David Prunty, and no running again, unfortunately, for Emma Dempsey. Few interviews now, and we're going to start with your race winner for this one, Sean McClemens. Sean, congratulations. It is another win in this season of Formula V. Of course, a controversial moment almost at the end between Dylan Campto and yourself. Any flashbacks when you saw McClemens' car go up in the air?
We don't talk about what happened in Vietnam back in April of last year, Evan. We don't talk about it. But I was watching him there, and I says, "You silly hurry! You just turned it on
him." Yeah, that of course gave you the win.
I don't know what impression that was, but
we saw. We saw. You spent the weekend in Buncrana. Evidently, gave Jordan Kelly a lesson on some shoddy overtakes. Messy race. How did you? How'd you find it out there?
Oh, she's wet. I can't even keep the accent up anymore. It's wet. Like,
I hate my job
it's
so
difficult.
much.
Like, it's it's slippy. Like, it's you can't really do a lot. Like, she's wet.
Starting 8th, how are you bottling this one?
To be fair, I jumped the start last time, but I didn't get the penalty, so I'll probably just jump it properly this time and get the penalty for it.
Yeah, fair enough. Right, go on, taught you. Good luck.
Cheers.
Yeah, Sean McClemens.
Ban that bloke from this interview room immediately.
Say Sean McClemens, aka Rory McSorley. Thanks for joining us. Speaking of Vietnam, he's probably going to go off to Vietnam now and do what Rory did years ago. But anyway, that's another story for another day. Captain Tucker, I think, will give us an altogether more sane interview. Camto, we noticed when we dropped Sean into the interview room, he was halfway through starting a sentence. So can you give us a little bit of insight into what you guys were talking about while we were waiting to bring you on air?
We were mainly just talking about the incident I had with Dylan in the hairpin, because I was looking back at the replay and I was really hoping I didn't wash that into him. And I genuinely do think it was a racing incident, because I went for the move because the space was there, and I was trying to get either a win or at least keep the podium at least. So I went for the move because it's more points for me in the championship and it'll help me out. And then I went down to second gear to give more space on the outside, and then I think he clipped my rear tire on the exit of the corner, and then we kind of linked into each other, and then the contact happened. So I think in my eyes, I think it's a racing incident. Sean was saying the same thing as well, but I don't know if it was put in as an incident yet. But I think if it was, it might be an racing incident. I hope it's a racing incident, because that's how I viewed it so far.
Yeah, I'm just having a quick look there. I don't see any report yet for it, but in terms of the overall evening, like you came into this one of the obviously yourself and Travis battling, so you've had a couple of really good solid results to kick off, and starting from nearer the back. But if this evening proves anything, it's that there's plenty of chances to get to the front if you can keep yourself out of trouble.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I actually, this is probably my favorite track, possibly. Hockenheim is like one of my favorite tracks, I think, ever. So I was really happy to have the pace in this season on this track in the rain as well. But yeah, starting in like the middle of the pack, or like towards the front end of the middle pack, is going to be a new challenge. But I'm hoping that I can at least work my way through the traffic. But I won't take any risk, really. I just want to at least finish with Travis or ahead of Travis, ideally.
Brilliant, Camto. Congratulations. Great start to this evening. Hopefully talk to you again before we finish this evening.
Hopefully, yeah. Thank you.
Right, and now I was thought we were going to have a chat with Dylan McClements, but he is gone. I was going to say he's the yin to his brother's yang, Dylan, because Sean arrives and it's just chaos, and Dylan arrives and he's just so chill and calm. You can't really push him out or get him to say anything overly controversial. Whereas the other fella, you can't shut up. But a great result for Sean, and good to hear Campto and himself kind of reflecting on that incident with Dylan. As we said, no incident yet in there, so I don't know. Will Dylan just put it down as a racing incident, perhaps?
Apologies to the members of our stream chat who thought Sean was speaking a different language. He actually wasn't, would you believe? That was some form of English. But yeah, look, as much as we try to keep the levels professional, if Sean McClements is winning races, we have no chance. But nonetheless, Caputo, a bit worried almost, it seemed there, like he was going to get docked 15 points, sort of fighting his case. So it'd be interesting to see how that one goes. But more crucially, Jack Wynne, pole position. Is it time for the first win and to make a statement? Dermot Toomey in second, then Lawrence de Sosma, Harvey Darrett, Travis Mooney, Dylan McClements, Campto, and Sean, your reverse grid.
Yeah, Sean giving us the best impression of the very first Irish person to try and attempt to speak English under colonial rule, I think, is what Sean was doing there. That's a great top 8, full of intrigue. I'm sure that Kevin Joyce in P11 will be looking out as well. And look at that, Jan Zoutvela in P17 as well. He'll be looking to make a huge amends. What was disappointing second race.
Well, here it is. Jack Wynne starts on pole for the first time in his short RTA Virtual Motorsport career, and the 20-minute feature race is underway. 30 points on offer, as there has been, but it's a cracking start from Apex Twin Racing, I should say. Dermot Toomey and LD is ahead as well. Jack has, unfortunately, dropped down the order in very similar fashion to what Kevin Joyce did in Brands Hatch. Harvey Dara splits the two streamers down the middle, heading down towards the right-hander, and he's looking to go for broke in the early stages of this one. Needs to be careful of Lawrence on the inside of the corner. He has done, and he's up to second position.
Yeah, unfortunately for Jack, just slow off the line, but still plenty left in it for him. But look at that gap already from Dermot Toomey, and he's somebody we haven't talked a huge amount about this season in terms of the scholarship standings, but now that we're down to the final 10, he's certainly making it count.
Yes, and Dermot Toomey in the top 10. It is Kart Racer 1, Kart Racer 2 in this one, but Jack Wynn is looking to make amends. He's got the little shiver in his brake foot away, and the confidence re-kicks back in for the very popular streamer, looking for the outside on Harvey Dara, but Dylan McClements is there to pounce on any mistake from either of them, so Jack Wynn's got to be uber cool in towards this final sector. Lawrence de Soswa's not had the best of starts either. We've had a lot of movers and shakers in this one compared to the rest. Dylan McClements up 3 spots, Jack down 3, Jordan Kelly up 2, Lawrence down 4.
Yeah, and Jordan didn't even have to murder anybody this time to get the place. But yeah, Peter up 4, which is a great result. Jan Zoutwelle only up 1 for the moment, and time is pressing on for the Dutchman. He needs to get a move on here. Kevin Joyce is still where he is in 11th, but with Conor Mealy in front of him, he'll be hoping to try and keep pace with this pack. Because, as I said, any sort of instant here, they're running so close together, you could easily earn 3 or 4 places just by being in the right place at the right time. So Kevin Joyce knows he'll have to play the long game, but Dermot Toomey, the gap now closing to Harvey Dara. He had about a 9/10 of a gap there at one point, but Harvey's now reining him in. And to be fair to Harvey Darby in the banana livery, he has made an enormous amount of places from the first race this evening right to where we are now.
Yes, he absolutely has. We are 2 minutes into this one on the second lap of proceedings. Sean McClements and Jordan Kelly side by side, and Jordan is going to remain on the outside here by the looks of things and just not get caught up with the Antrim man. And now we are on board with the other Antrim man. Well, one of many. We have about a million Antrim drivers in this championship, but nevertheless, Dylan is on the outside here, as arguably the nicer line into the double right-handers. Is he going to go for it all? Dermot Toomey's drifting, and he's very lucky not to slap into the side of the 88.
Oh, yeah, I think particularly lucky as well that that corner had such a wide radius, because it looked like he was heading. There's just, speaking of heading, going down the inside, there's Jack Wynn trying to get the move done, but can't get it, and he's going to lose out now. And Travis Mawhinney now all over the back of Harvey Dara, trying to get in ahead of Jaxer, who is... I think a little bit overly ambitious, and we've seen that happen a few times. That it's such an inviting space to dive into, but the problem is you dive into it, you've absolutely no exit speed, and then guys just pass you left, right, and centre.
Yeah, you gotta just keep it cool if you're on the inside, and then if you're on the outside, make sure you leave a lot of space on the inside. That's another mistake from Jack Wynn, and Camto has had to take avoiding action. Lawrence de Soswa sneaks his way through. So they are side by side now, heading in towards the final corner, which caused us an awful lot of problems back when it rained here in Formula One's last event in 2019, but not as much of an issue on that drag strip. It's not as much of a Bambi on ice situation in these Formula Vs as it was back then for the bigger single-seaters. The top 4 have created a little bit of a schism in the field here. So Dylan McClements leads Dermot Toomey, Harvey Dara in second, Travis Mawhinney in third, and then Sean McClements is looking to try and catch up to them down the inside of Jack Wynn. So despite starting very high up, Lawrence and Jack are down to 5th and 7th. First win dreams for Jack, slowly slipping.
Yeah, it's a real pity for the 419 car. Just, obviously got his first podium, which was a huge milestone for him, and still very much in the shout for the scholarship. But I just wonder, is that podium start maybe, did that just play in his mind? Because there's a lot of time you hang around, like we're obviously watching here, we're seeing the interviews, but for the guys who aren't doing that, you're kind of just sitting there waiting to go for the final race. And if you're going into it knowing you're starting on pole, sometimes you can get inside your own head and psych yourself out a little bit. And I wonder, is that what happened to Jack Wynn in this one?
Yeah, definitely. And Chris McCann in the stream chat making a good point that catching back up to that top 4 is going to be extremely difficult with no slipstream. But to be fair to Lawrence, he's given a good belt at it here to try and get back up. And the battling is certainly going to help. Dermot Toomey down the inside of Harvey Dara. That's about as squeaky clean and effective of a move as we've got this evening. And Dermot Toomey is really making a good account of himself. Your fellow Corkman, Kevin, from Mitchellstown, the racing in the Rotax Max Challenge last season. Decent performance so far.
Yeah, very decent. We'll certainly claim him and the town of Mitchellstown as our own. Recently voted as Ireland's least desirable town to live in was Mitchellstown, which is definitely not true, because I've been to Dundalk and I know what it looks like. Harvey Dara in fourth position. I was gonna no, but it's okay. I was gonna go back to Dermot Toomey as well. Dermot sponsored by H2Go, which is perhaps the reason why he's so fast in the wet.
Yeah, sounds like a knockoff Chapel Roan song, but that's an intro. Is that a real sponsor? H2Go?
I think so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're a real company. Yeah.
But is all water not technically on the go? Like,
Well, not
what
if you're
makes a
drinking
to-go
occasionally.
water different to other water?
Well, you don't need a tap to drink it. You get it in a bottle, so you don't
But you
need
can put
to.
tap water in a bottle, and then is that H2Go or is that just water you've put in the bottle?
Just what you put in a bottle.
Do I have the wrong priorities in life? Potentially.
I think so. I'm still, yeah, Chris has mentioned it here in the spot. I'm still not
no.
over the Earn Tiles incident involving Chris's brother Peter. Of course, an incident which we must never speak of. We're contractually obliged not to mention, but needless to say, the county areas of the border counties of Monaghan, Cavan, and Fermanagh have not forgotten what he's done to sully their great brand. And as no
I'm pretty
longer
sure if you
racing with
Google
their
Earn
colours.
Tiles, Peter's virtual livery comes up. I think I remember him showing me. I can't.
Super. That is superb. Yeah, I just love the idea of somebody in Earn Tiles being like, "Oh yeah, I'll just get the number for the company there. Let me Google it." And being like, "What the?" I just think that's brilliant. Right, Jack Wynn now down to 8th position. Lawrence de Sosma up to 6th in the battle of the content creators, because we have 6, 7, and 8 are all very much involved in that space. As
So,
Kevin
oh,
Joyce
Kevin.
exits stage left and is no longer part of that battle. So yeah, I don't know what color he's rocking, but I do believe he may have a small bit of desert sand now as part of that blue Crayola.
He heard Kevin say 6'7" and then realised he's too old for this and just dropped straight off the track. I rate it highly. Sorry to anyone over the age of 12 in the stream chat doesn't get what in the world I'm talking about.
People over the age of 12 know what you're talking about. They just choose to ignore it. Right, Jan Zoutfella. We were talking about him earlier on, needing to get a move on. He's up 8 places, is the 35 car, and hot on the heels of Conor Melia. Now, Jan, not been as good an evening as it probably should have been. But a wet weather specialist, there's a little bit of contact, and that partly is the reason why, Evan, getting caught up in probably too much mischief in that Wii Sports car. I think he'll have to take the bowling off. It doesn't suit him.
No, it doesn't. It's not been great luck. And Sean McClemens, is he looking for the move on Harvey Dara here? Yes, he is. And Harvey Dara has made a mess of that one. So that will be the position for Sean McClemens. Jack Wynn's got to try get the hurry on here and catch back up to this pack. Lawrence and Dermot are with them. It'll be interesting to see what Jack can do. But he's under a lot of pressure from Zoutevella and Conor Melia. So you can't really see him unless Jan is able to drag them back up towards it. But you never know. It's Dylan and Sean. If they get to the front, they're going to control this race very well. So that's what Travis needs to try stop them doing, is keep them honest. And now we're free wide behind. Conor Melia down the inside. This is not a corner you like to go free wide into. And Jack is definitely thinking about his scholarship there. Peter McCann is just thinking about chucking one down the inside. And now we're almost free wide once again. And Jack Wynn's on the inside here. His spotter's going to be screaming at him. But that one has worked out okay.
Yeah, it has worked out okay, and I think it's great that Peter's involved in this battle because he's getting to see some of these scholarship drivers first, and of course, Peter involved in the selection as well. So important for you get an on-track perspective of how these guys race, and I think Jack's discretion there may prove to be a better thing than just initially the places. Harvey Dara now in P4, you can just see him. He's starting to peel away now from Diarmuid Toomey in 5th position. So unfortunately, he's just starting to fall back a little bit, is my fellow Corkonian. And having had an 8-10 lead at the beginning of the race, it looks like, unfortunately, this top 4 are probably the quickest that we have on track at the moment.
Cork team leading well at the start and then throwing it away. Never seen that before.
Never heard of
it. Dermot too, we've fallen down the this could get bad. This could get bad. Sean McClemens and Travis Mawhinney are thundering down the inside of the pack here, and Sean just about nailed his braking. Travis Mawhinney, that corner right there, arguably showing how much he's matured over the course of the season, just nailed his braking at the right point and was able to stay behind. There's the contact. It's come from 2 different, and Travis Mawhinney has done excellent to save that one. That could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, could have been a hell of a lot worse. And great work from Travis to avoid any further contact. And that's a big move from Peter McCann down the inside of Jack Wynn as well. So this this battle continues, and now Jack under pressure here from Sean McGoldrick. He'll be disappointed, will Jack, in the 419 car, because obviously starting on pole position, we would have had big hopes. But he's going to go down the inside of Peter. Can't get that move done though, and he's inviting now the pressure from Sean McGoldrick. But I think Sean, not really sure whether Sean was ever going to be able to hang that where he was hoping to put it. Yeah, we'll see in the 23 car. But yeah, Dylan McClemenson's second we're looking at now. He has his brother in front of him. He has Diarmuid Tuvey behind him. So as we just said, that contact between Harvey not only impacting on Travis Mawhinney's race, but also on Harvey's race as well.
Been a weird one tonight, hasn't it? The wet weather brings out the antics, and we've certainly seen that. We are into the latter stages of this final heat. It's very much yet to be decided. Diarmuid Tuvey running very strong. That's the top of this one, but down the inside, and that is the first we've seen tonight of Andy Middleton in the HP Sauce livery, or I think that's the HP Sauce livery, is it? Looks like
It
the
is,
HP
indeed.
Sauce. Yeah,
Correct.
looks like the HP Sauce colours. It's kind of if you put a Gulf livery in the washing machine with a Manchester United jersey, that's the kind of result you get from that. That's the worst analogy I've ever said, but say nothing. Jack Wynn just backing off fairly early there. There's almost a sense of nervousness from Jack Wynn, like he's out of rhythm here. It's been one of his more disappointing performances, which is disappointing for both him and his fans after the earlier podium. But he's down in 11th, struggling with some car damage or something. It's just not convincing.
Yeah, and it's pity because he's been running really well this evening thus far. Obviously getting that podium in the second race, but just not quite able to see it out in the final race. And I was gonna say at the beginning of the race, like, if he gets up around the podium places, he's certainly a shout for driver of the day. But I think he's kind of put end to those chances now. If you are thinking about driver of the day, we've seen a few people already get in touch. Jamal Gandor, Chris McCann, Stephen T6 as well. So do keep your nominations coming in, because we are all ears. Now, Harvey Dara is really bunched up amongst this group, so he's gonna have to get a move on lickety split and see if he can get back to the front. But Diarmuid Tuvey, I think Diarmuid will be pretty happy overall, because it looked for a second there that he was going to get gapped by that group at the front, but he's still very much in the running here in P3.
Yes, he is. Diarmuid is having a solid performance here and got into the top 10 of the scholarship in terms of the championship standings. He's not the highest, but this is a big evening for him. This could propel him towards the top, especially when, like, Camto and Jack have had disappointing races here. So it'll be interesting to see what happens as there's a little bit of a battle developing. We're all weaving our way up the front, and down the inside goes Harvey Dara on Diarmuid Tuvey, but still squeaky clean. Travis Mawhinney still in this fight, and LD has just about fallen off the back of it, but we'll be looking to catch back up with a little bit of fighting now. There's Jack Wynn and Kevin Joyce, all elbows out. Oh, and a little bit of a nudge from Jack Wynn on the Crayola, and he's had the nib of that one snipped as Kevin Joyce, and now he's going to go around the outside and just about get the move here, is he? Yes, and Jack Wynn is trying to hang it all the way. Doesn't want to use too much of that curb. It gets very slippy in these conditions, but I think Kevin Joyce is going to have this one.
Yeah, a little bit of electric blue, I'd say, is going to be left onto the tip of that 419 car. Great song. But yeah, it's still managing to get ahead, though. That's good work from Jack Wynn ahead of Kevin Joyce. But unfortunately, Peter McCann is a good bit down the road now. A bit of a gap there between those guys. It's going to be hard to see how Jack can make up too many more places, barring any disasters. And certainly with these two boys up front, you can be sure that Dylan will be doing his best to help his brother here, trying to move away. So a bit of bump drafting. These guys know how to do it in these machines. So we shall see whether they can pull away from the rest of this grid, who are driving back in earnest. Travis Mawhinney now could end up being the best placed scholarship driver in the final race if he can get ahead of Diarmuid Tuvey here, which is quite a sentence given the trials and tribulations he had, as Harvey Dara goes a little bit deep into that one, and Travis Mooney gets that job done on Dermot Toomey. Good work from him. Jan Zoutvela now in 9th position, falling back a small bit, of course, was caught up in those incidents earlier, looked a little bit squirrely, but he's still in 9th, up 8 places, as is the man behind him, Peter McCann. You can see just behind there in the purple machine in the shot.
Dara looking for the move on McClements once again, but not paying off. It's all very even at this time being. I wonder, will we get the traditional Formula V last lap scrap that we have almost got tonight, but where it's just cars in the slipstream like we got at Lime Rock. The stream chat thinking Jack has damage. I'd have to agree with them, because this just isn't what we've seen from Jack Wynne this season. It's been very disappointing. It's going to hurt his championship.
Yeah, and on a completely unrelated side topic, Harvey Dara, one of a number of drivers on the grid that, of course, has 2 first names as a name. So we have Harvey Dara in 3rd position, of course. We have Jordan Kelly in 19th position, and we also have Kevin Joyce. So yeah, any of those 3, you can have their full names made up of first names. Harvey Dara is my favorite person.
Do you know anyone called Joyce? Is the first?
Yeah,
the first name?
No, that's people. Have you ever watched Stranger Things? Has anybody ever watched Stranger Things here? Joyce?
No, I haven't.
No,
never watched
very,
the episode.
very common first name for females, as is Kelly.
Apologies to everyone who just binge watches Netflix. I've never watched Stranger Things.
It's not a personality trait. It's just a TV.
It is for
program.
some people.
Yeah, well, it is for some people. Speaking of personality traits, here are 2 boys that definitely use racing as their chat-up lines, although I suspect that Dylan probably isn't doing it as nearly as much as his older brother. If anybody can...
His older brother better not be doing it, or one of our Gantry TV viewers is about to click off.
I can't believe he found somebody in the world that actually A, puts up with him, and B, understands him. Right, Sean, fair play to him. 47, there's hope for us all.
Well, McGann.
Yeah. Right, Campto Chukwe P8. Bit of a disappointing one as well for Campto. There's a few guys here in this final race, Evan, have just lost out a little bit, haven't they? They had a great opportunity to set up a really brilliant evening for themselves and just couldn't quite capitalize in the final race.
Yeah, couldn't quite capitalise. I apologise to America, who are now telling me that there's a load of people called Joyce, so I apologise for that. I stand corrected. Not as fun as
America does worse things than that.
Yeah, true. I still not my favourite name fact, as I'm pretty sure Theo Lestrange is still the only RTA driver with the letter L to start his surname to get a podium in the last 3 years or something like that, but I'll have to go back and fact check that one all the way back to beyond the F4s, but I think that's still accurate. Nonetheless, we're about to head on to the last lap, and this is a cracking bit of racing.
Yeah, if anybody is interested in dating Evan Dalton, then you can find the details below. Let's not go in here. Let's not talk about the
So, guys,
the
RTA Formula V. Sean McClements is in the race. White flag is out. Dylan McClements in second. Harvey Dara looking for this one. And Sean has just turned on the afterburners, heading down the main straight. Chris McCann's first put his hand up. Here comes Harvey Dara down the inside of Travis Mawhinney. And Travis is not holding back despite being in a very good championship position. It's looking like it's going to be the two brothers to fight for the race win. Not the first time that they have fought for a race win this season. And here comes Harvey Dara looking for it down the inside on Travis Mawhinney. Is it going to be a late lunge from the banana? And Dermot Toomey's in this one as well. And Travis Mawhinney, I thought he was a lot closer to Dylan there than he was. It was a bit of a misleading camera angle, but it is looking good for the older of the two in the race lead.
Yeah, and if you were wondering who was waving the white flag, it would have been Evan Dalton there as he desperately tried to escape from that conversation. Sean McClements and Dylan McClements, the two brothers once again, and a superb evening's driving from Sean McClements. Dylan obviously getting on the podium, but Sean, 2 race wins back to back in these conditions, and he's showing the rest of these young pups what a real Formula V driver does as he looks to take his second win. As Travis Mawhinney on the grass, he's doing a Kevin Estra. Travis Mawhinney round the outside in the grass. He can't make it stick. And will that open the door now for Harvey Darren, the number 8 car?
This race is not over yet. We're going to be down to the final 2 corners, which you can make a move in. Dylan McClements, is he looking for it? No. I think he's played defensive just for his brother to get through the final few corners. But what a brave racing driver Travis Mawhinney is, putting it all on the line just to try and eke out an extra 2 points. Second, oh no, Sean's lifting. He's returning the favour from Okayama, where Dylan lifted to give Sean a win for no reason whatsoever. Sean's lifted to give Dylan the win. But more importantly, he's just handed Travis that 2 points he was looking for.
Yeah, that's... we'll have to see what the stewards have to say
And
about
to all
that.
the Sean McClements compliments for tonight, he's just done that.
Yeah, I mean, well, if you can call it compliments, we've given him a bit of a hard time as well. But, like, that's fine if Travis Mawhinney isn't involved. Like, that's fine if Sean wants to lift and leave Dylan win. There's nothing wrong with that. If they're in a position where they can do that and not affect the championship scoring for the scholarship guys. And like, if you're Lawrence de Soswa or Diarmuid Toomey looking on at that, if particularly Lawrence de Soswa or Camto Chukwa looking on at that, I know obviously Sean and Camto get on exceptionally well, but I just wonder, will those guys be a little bit upset with what Sean McClements has just done there, because they're only a small amount of points, but the smallest margin, as we found out. Like a couple of seasons ago, we were literally 2 guys finishing on the exact same amount of points come the end of the season. So we will call the results, we'll have interviews, and we might get an opportunity to ask Sean a more serious question than we did the last time we had him in the interview room.
Can't wait to ask him about race fixing, and then he replies in that voice. That's going to be quite funny. Dylan McClements takes the race win ahead of Travis Mawhinney. Happy days if you're Travis. That's worked out a treat. Sean McClements in 3rd, Harvey Dara in 4th, then Lawrence de Soswa in 5th, Diarmuid Toomey. Then it is Peter, Jan, Camto, Connor, Kevin Joyce, Tony Griffin. Decent recovery that from Tony, who started at the back of the grid, of course. Jack Wynne, Dara O'Connor, Lee Cogan, Sean McGoldrick, Jordan Kelly, Ken Doyle, Ross Wheatley, Andy Middleton. Then it is Sean Smith, Gerard Thornton, David Prunty, and Noam Emmett MC, of course, once again. Let's hear from your race winner, Dylan McClements. Dylan, congratulations. I'm going to repeat the very oversaid old adage that when you're waiting for one bus, it doesn't show up, and then 2 turn up at the same time. That's the case for you at wins this season, but I suspect the last one was a little bit of a return of favour.
Yeah, Sean left it, but he probably could have kept second. He left it off too much, but big thanks to him.
In terms of the race as a whole, I want to ask you about race 2 first. Of course, you had a 1.6 second lead, and it's something that's very rare to us here. You were actually caught by Camto. Then there was the incident. What's your take on that one?
Well, I think he caught me. I went wide. Hairpin battle went off. And then I went wide onto the curve, so then I lost a mega time. And then in terms of the incident, I probably couldn't even blame Campdo. I think I just turned in a bit early. 'Cause I've moved my camera now, so it's hard to quite see, but it's kind of my own fault there.
Then race 3, bit of a race of attrition. What's your take on that one?
Well, it was a good race. Got up the grid quite quickly, and just stayed from there. Me and Sean worked together to keep everyone behind, but there was a last lap. I definitely feel like he could have got second there, but I don't know what it is.
So in terms of the next week, there's not much of a point asking you about the championship. Is it just going to be to try and stack up the wins once again?
Yeah, it's gonna be hard because I think it's Sebring short, which is a lot of straights, but I'll send it from there because I'm not in any, I've not really any like stress or worries or anything, just nothing to lose.
Dylan, thank you very much for joining us, and congratulations on finally getting those inevitable wins on the board.
All right, thank you.
Now, let's hear from our second place driver, Travis Mawhinney.
Travis, that's not Travis Mooney. Let's get rid of Sean McClemens for the moment before he says something libelous. Travis, I don't know if you've ever been to the town of Dunloy. I'm sure you've never visited the McClemens household, but you certainly profited from some brotherly love there, I think.
I'm never got involved in that city, to be honest with you. So
Yeah,
Wouldn't call Dunloy a city.
definitely not. But I was going to move past it. Let's keep going. I've already offended the people of Dundalk, so let's not offend another county or town. Travis, yeah, it was. Look, you had obviously an incident in the opening race, and like frustrating from that point of view. Obviously, you're in the championship battle, but you really, a battle, it means a battle, and you've really battled yourself back to the front of the grid. So I think overall you'd have felt like you kind of deserved a second place.
yeah, the opening race was a bit of a disappointment going to the hairpin. I went a bit too far to the right, went through to the watery bits, and I just sent the car spinning. There's nothing I could really do. Well, I felt disappointed at the time, but at the same time, I still needed to be focused, head down, and everything if I want to stay in the title fight going into the last round. So made a few moves, made a few very good moves actually going around the outside at some points at the hairpin. And it kind of worked out, to be honest with you. Second place for the from race 3, if it's gonna, it worked out in my favor with that kind of mindset. So I'm really hoping to keep that going, and so yeah, just keep it going.
Yeah, I mean, certainly very much in the championship picture. We only have one evening left now next week. How excited will you be this week about the possibility of getting yourself on the grid for the coming season?
Yeah, I'm very excited. I've never driven a Formula V before. I've never driven any single series before. I'm only got involved in the minis in real life, and that's about it. So really, if I want to, well, if the results over now, the top three might be announced later on at some stage, and the points, what's it called? The drop rounds is gonna really hinder me because I got the penalty at one point, and that's not gonna count. And that race, I've had steering wheel issues and all. So yeah, really overall, I'm very excited.
Brilliant, Travis. Look, we are going to hopefully speak to you next week, and we are going to take a we're going to mental fortification before we bring in the race leader, Sean McClemens. But Travis, thank you so much for joining us.
Right, cheers, guys.
And I say race winner. What I should have said was should be race winner. I'm going to leave Evan do the interrogating here because I suspect there might be some drivers up and down the grid that mightn't have Sean on their Christmas card list this year.
Yeah, Sean, welcome back. Just talk us through the last lap there.
So I was leading it. I got the last corner. I was trying to let Dalton by, and I'm just gonna say I completely misjudged that. Well, it was really close to be fair. Like me and Travis finished, what was it, not 4 between us or something. Like I tried to just about give enough that like I let Dylan by it and no more, but I misjudged it a wee tiny touch. Like it was close, like, but I intended to get second. But look, Dylan's done me plenty of favors, and that was the whole point to give him a favor back. Like.
Is there an understanding of the implications potentially caused by that?
Not necessarily, no way.
Okay. On the race as a whole, then, very solid drive from you. Pace was excellent, and you led it comfortably. Is this sort of a result of maybe you putting more practice in to get ready for the real season, or is it just a case of on the night worked well?
I could like to say, it's for, well, I suppose it is a bit for the real season. Like we're driving V's at the end of the day. Like, but I'm not really practicing as much. Like, to be honest, like I jumped on with maybe 15, 20 minutes left in practice. And the same last week, I maybe got 3 lap practice and then I won the race. So I don't know. it just seems to work out. Not practicing, but it shouldn't. Like I should be putting more effort into the real race. But here, we'll live and learn. And I'll maybe put a bit more in for next week and see what we can do.
Yeah, you looking forward to Sebring?
I didn't even know we were racing Sebring. Yeah, Sebring sounds fun. Yeah.
Well, Sean, making life as easy as ever.
Yeah, just deal with it when it comes to it. Like no point
Do you know,
worrying
I
about
just,
track you're at in 3 weeks' time. Like.
Sean, you know when you get on a Ryanair flight and they say if you're on this flight and this isn't your destination, and people wonder who would get on a flight not knowing the destination they go to. I think you are the kind of guy that message is entirely intended for. And I'll just leave it at that.
Not at all. Like, no, I know exactly where we're going. Like, we're just sort of plan it last minute. Like, and if I ever got a Ryanair flight, and let's say I was for going to Stoke, like, and it says you're going to Barcelona, I'd be the type of fellow to sit there and say, "Oh, like Barcelona seems a lot funner than Stoke."
I, first of all, Stoke doesn't have an airport, and second of all, of that I have absolutely no doubt that you would sit there and say nothing. The kind of guy who would say, "Oh, the money was just resting in my account." Right, Sean, thank you, thank you
Sean,
so
just
much.
quickly, just so we can put a button in it. The whole
Yeah.
thing was you returning the favour to Dylan for Okayama, and it was just a
Oh
total
yeah, no,
mess up.
completely. Like, cause even in qualifying then as well, like Dylan told me, and by the time it worked out, and I tried to give Dylan so like we end up not even getting enough laps to give Dylan so like, and Dylan like even last week he left it for me, and I was just trying to do the same, like to be honest, and the whole intention, like I wanted to get second, obviously, like I don't want to give away any more free positions, but I'm kind of not raging with the way it worked out because like I'm not gonna go and cry about it, but I'm just sort of I'm just not happy with the whole thing. Like I'd rather second, but look, that's what it is.
Right.
Like.
Button in it. The two of you, don't do that again. Thanks a million.
Right, good luck.
Well, at least that's
Oh.
that sorted.
Yeah, I know. Come here, there's no badness at all in it, and we knew that anyway when it happened. I think it's just for other drivers involved in the scholarship series.
Yeah, look,
They might just
we
might
are
be a little bit
messengers at the
nitpicky.
end of the day to our viewers and stuff at home, so we have to
Absolutely.
clarify those things.
And
But I
also
can
to
put
make-
that one down to Sean just making an absolute
Yeah,
mess of what he was trying to do.
Sean just being Sean. I mean, Geraldine, I'm certainly not calling your son stupid. If he's
I am.
well, I'm not. He's far from he's far. Give you that shuffle later on. He's far from that. I just definitely think he's so laid back. I mean, if the guy was any more laid back, he'd be lying upside down. It's incredible. But he's a great antidote to the serious racing that we have here. Right, one more evening to go, gentlemen, and this is going to be a cracker. Sebring, the short track, we don't see it very often. I'm sure the guys don't see it out very often. It is bumpy as hell, and it's going to be the venue where we finally find out who's getting that final seat or those couple of seats in the Formula V Scholarship Series. Know about you guys, but I'm exceptionally excited for next week.
So am I. We actually forgot one thing, Kevin. We haven't announced driver of the day yet.
We do.
Who is your take?
So, couple of very strong candidates. Sean is up there definitely for the drive. Jack Wynn, as I said, would have been up there otherwise. Unfortunately, had a last lap incident. Also, Diarmuid Toomey gets a shout out because Diarmuid was very quick in the last race. But I think we'll have to give it to another content creator this week, partially because we think he was the best driver of the day, and partially because we need the extra views and subscribers. No, I joke. Lawrence de Soswa, a superb drive from another, Cork resident. I know he's a Kerry man originally, but a Cork resident. He's found sense, and he's certainly found pace this evening, and a great result for him. Great 3 results for him. So, Ballincollig resident, should I say, Lawrence de Soswa is our Gantry TV driver of the day.
Congrats, Lawrence. Very solid drive. One of his best ever in RTA, I would say, and a bit of a bounce back for a couple of shoddy weeks. So fair play, LD. Very good performance.
Great stuff. And yeah, certainly will do his opportunity no harm at all. Right. As we said, Sebring next week, but between now and then, make sure you go and check out our sponsors, rtavirtualmotorsport.com. That is where you can get all the updates on everything, and we may have some a bit of a bonus announcement as well over the week, which will be put on one of our other sponsors of this series, Bois Motorsport, who do superb work. And if you want to check out the latest in the litany of Hammond crashes, then you can check out their Instagram as well. Remember as well, Gamerfest coming up in Dublin this May. It's getting closer, folks. Tickets still available for that one, so head to gamerfest.com, I'm going to say, for that. But even just Google Gamerfest and you'll find a Gamerfest Dublin. And also, of course, the Mondello Park. Remember, these guys are looking to battle for a place to have a drive on Mondello Park. But if you head to Mondello Park, you can actually do the same thing yourself and get in one of these machines and have a whip around Ireland's Republic of Ireland's anyway. Well, Ireland's, I think it's fair to say, premier motor sport circuit. Okay, from us, take rest, take a stock, digest, go and try and find out some way of understanding Sean McClement's accent before next week. And we will find you at the same point, same time, same place, Gantry TV's YouTube channel, 9 p.m. next Tuesday. We're off to Florida to see who'll take home the very final prizes. Until then, thanks to everyone in the chat for joining us. Thanks to Ronan Hederman for his work in the background, and thanks to Evan Dalton as ever for not just his superb co-commentary, but his ongoing great coverage of motorsport right across the country. But from me, Kevin Galvin, Slán go fóill.